Jake Collins walked fast through the busy spaceport. His black shoes clicked on the metal floor as he moved between crowds of people and aliens. He checked his watch again. The board meeting was in 30 minutes, and he could not be late. Not. Today, the deal with the Centauri government was the biggest contract his company had ever won. 300 billion credits to build new cities on 12 dead planets. It would make Stellar Dynamics the most powerful human company in the galaxy. His board members were waiting for him to sign the papers and celebrate. Jake pulled his phone from his jacket pocket and started reading the final contract details. The words blurred together as he walked. Terraforming rights, mineral extraction permits, construction timelines. Everything looked perfect. A small hand tugged at his jacket. Jake looked down and saw a little girl with messy brown hair and dirty clothes. She could not be more than 7 years old. Her blue eyes looked up at him with fear and hope mixed together. "Sir," she whispered, glancing around nervously, "can you pretend to be my daddy just for one day?" Jake stopped walking. The question was so strange that he forgot about his meeting for a moment. The girl wore a torn pink shirt and pants that were too big for her. Dirt covered her face and hands like she had been hiding somewhere dirty for days. "What did you say?" Jake asked. Kneeling down to her level. The girl moved closer and whispered even quieter. "Please, sir, those blue men over there are looking for me. They want to take me away. If you pretend to be my daddy, maybe they will leave me alone." Jake turned and saw 3 tall aliens with blue skin and silver clothes standing near the food court. They had the cold eyes of predators searching for prey. He recognized them immediately, Zilani slave traders. The worst kind of criminals in the galaxy. "What's your name?" Jake asked the girl. "Lucy Chun," she said. "My mommy and daddy worked on a research station called Haven Prime. Bad men came in. Hurt them. I hid in a supply ship and ended up here. I've been sleeping in the storage rooms for 4 days. Jake felt his heart break a little. This small girl had lost everything and was trying to survive alone in a dangerous place. The Zilani would sell her to mining companies, or worse if they caught her. "Where are your grandparents? Any other family?" he asked. Lucy shook her head. "Mommy and Daddy were scientists. They said we didn't have any family left on Earth. Just us." One of the Zilani pointed in their direction. They started walking toward Jake and Lucy with slow, confident steps. Jake made a quick decision that would change his life forever. "Lucy," he said, standing up and taking her small hand in his. "From now on, I'm your daddy. Don't let go of my hand, okay?" Lucy nodded and squeezed his hand tight. Her dirty fingers felt so small and fragile in his palm. The lead Zilani reached him. He was tall and thin with sharp teeth and eyes like black glass. "Human," he said in broken English. "You have something that belongs to us." "I don't know what you're talking about," Jake replied, keeping his voice calm and steady. "The child. She is stolen property. We have legal claim under galactic salvage law. Her parents died owing debts to our corporation. She must work to pay them." Jake felt Lucy's hand shake in his. He squeezed gently to let her know he would not let her go. "This is my daughter," Jake said firmly. "She's been with me all week. I have the adoption papers in my office if you want to see them." The Zilani's eyes narrowed. "You lie, human. We tracked her ship from Haven Prime. She has been hiding here alone." "Then you tracked." "Wrong," Jake said. He pulled out his phone and showed them his company ID. "I'm Jake Collins, CEO of Stellar Dynamics Corporation. This is Lucy Collins, my adopted daughter. If you have a problem with that, call my lawyers." The Zilani stared at the phone screen. Stellar Dynamics was famous throughout the galaxy. Even aliens knew not to mess with one of the biggest human companies without good reason. "We will check your story," the lead Zilani said. "If you lie, we will find you both. Check all you want," Jake replied. "We'll be at my office in the Collins Tower, top floor. You know where to find us." The 3 Zilani walked away, but Jake knew they would be back. He had just made very dangerous enemies, but he could not let them take Lucy. "Are you really going to be my daddy?" Lucy asked as they walked toward the exit. "Yes," Jake said without thinking. "For as long as you need me to be, even if those blue men try to hurt us." Jake stopped and knelt down again. He looked directly into Lucy's brave little face. "Lucy, I promise you something. No one is going to hurt you while I'm around. Not the Zilani, not anyone. Do you believe me?" Lucy studied his face for a long moment. Then she smiled for the first time since he met her. It was like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. "I believe you, Daddy," she said. Jake felt something change inside his chest. He had built a business empire worth billions of credits. He owned ships and factories across dozens of worlds. But being called Daddy by this brave little girl felt more important than all of it. "Come on," he said, taking her hand again. "Let's go home and get you cleaned up. Then we need to have a serious talk about your mommy and daddy's work." As they walked to his private transport, Jake's phone rang. It was his assistant calling about the board meeting. Jake looked at the phone, then at Lucy's trusting face, then back at the phone. He turned it off. The biggest business deal of his life could wait. Right now, he had something more important to do. He had a daughter to take care of, and somehow he knew that this little girl was going to change everything. Not just for him, but for all of humanity. The Zilani might think they could bully one. Human child, but they had never met Jake Collins before. And they definitely had never seen what humans would do to protect their children. The war was just beginning. Jake's private transport flew through the sky toward Collins' tower. Lucy pressed her face against the window and watched the city below. She had never seen buildings so tall or ships so shiny. "Is this really where you live?" she asked, her breath making fog on the glass. "Yes," Jake said. "And now it's where you live too." The transport landed on the roof of the tallest building in the city. Jake led Lucy through glass doors into his office suite. The room was bigger than most people's homes. One wall was made entirely of windows that showed the whole city. Lucy walked slowly around the room, touching expensive furniture and staring at the view. "My mommy and daddy lived in a small metal box," she said quietly. "But they said it was perfect because we were together." Jake felt his chest tighten. He sat down in a chair so he could look at Lucy's face. "Tell me about them." "What kind of work did they do?" Lucy sat cross-legged on the thick carpet. "They were scientists. They studied tiny living things that could make sick people better." Daddy said they were like tiny doctors that lived inside other creatures. "What kind of creatures?" Jake asked. "All kinds. Plants, animals, even some rocks that weren't really rocks." Mommy said the tiny doctors were very special. They could fix almost anything that was broken. Jake leaned forward. This sounded like more than simple research. "Did they find something important?" Lucy nodded. They got very excited about something. They worked all day and all night for weeks. They said it could help everyone in the galaxy live longer and be healthier. "Where is their research now?" Lucy reached into her shirt and pulled out a small silver device. It was no bigger than her palm. "Daddy gave me this before the bad men came. He said to keep it safe and never give it to anyone except another human. Scientists who wanted to help people." Jake stared at the device. It looked like a standard data core, but if it contained what Lucy described, it was worth more than his entire company. "Lucy, this is very important. Do you remember what your parents said about their discovery?" The exact words? Lucy closed her eyes and thought hard. Daddy said the tiny doctors could make humans live for hundreds of years. Mommy said they could make our brains work better too. She said it would make humans as strong as the big alien. Races. Jake's mind raced. No wonder the Zilani wanted Lucy so badly. This research could change the balance of power in the entire galaxy. Humans were considered weak compared to most alien species. They had shorter lives, less physical strength, and slower healing. But if this research was real, Lucy, I need to ask you something serious. Do you trust me? Yes, Daddy, she said without hesitation. Good, because some very bad people are going to try to take that device from you. They want to use your parents' work to hurt humans instead of help them. Lucy hugged the data cord to her chest. I won't let them have it. You don't have to worry about that. I'm going to protect you and keep the research safe. But first, let's get you cleaned up and fed. Jake called his assistant and asked her to bring children's clothes and food. He also asked her to cancel all his meetings for the rest of the day. When she asked why, he simply said he had family business to handle. While they waited, Lucy explored the office. She found Jake's collection of model spaceships and asked questions about each one. Her curiosity reminded him of why he had fallen in love with space exploration as a child. Why do you have so many toy ships? Lucy asked. They're not toys. They're models of real ships my company built. We help humans travel to new worlds and build new homes. Like what my mommy and daddy were doing on Haven Prime? Exactly like that. Lucy picked up a model of a terraforming ship. This one looks friendly, like it wants to help. Jake smiled. That's the Harmony. It turns dead planets into places where humans can live. It plants trees and makes rivers and builds the first cities. That sounds nice. Do you think my mommy and daddy would have liked it? I think they would have loved it. When the clothes and food arrived, Jake helped Lucy get cleaned up in his private bathroom. As she washed her face, he saw how much she looked like the pictures of young human colonists he had in his office. Brave, hopeful, ready to face anything. Over dinner, Lucy told him more about Haven Prime. Her parents had been part of a small research team studying the native life forms. The planet was supposed to be safe, protected by human military patrols. But the patrol ship never came back, Lucy said, eating her first real meal in days. Daddy said the bad men must have hurt. Then, too, Jake made a mental note to check military records. If the Zilani had attacked a human military patrol, it was an act of war. Lucy, I need to tell you something. Those blue men we saw today are going to come back. They work for a very powerful company that doesn't like humans. They're going to try to take you away from me. Lucy stopped eating. Are you going to let them? Never. But we need to be smart about this. Starting tomorrow, everyone needs to believe that you really are my daughter. Can you do that? Yes, Daddy. I'm good at pretending. I pretended to be invisible for 4 days so the blue men wouldn't find me. You're very brave, Lucy, but now you don't have to be invisible anymore. Now you get to be part of a family. Lucy smiled and hugged him. I always wanted a daddy who built spaceships. That night, Jake set up a bed for Lucy in the guest room of his apartment. As he tucked her in, she asked, Daddy, why are the blue men so mean to humans? Jake thought carefully about his answer. Some aliens think humans are weak because we're smaller and don't live as long as they do. They don't understand that humans have something more important than size or long life. What's that? We take care of each other. No matter what happens, humans don't give up on their families. Lucy smiled sleepily. Like how you didn't give up on me. Exactly like that. As Lucy fell asleep, Jake sat in his study and called his head of security. He had a feeling that tomorrow was going to bring trouble. The Zilani would check his story about adopting Lucy and find out he was lying. When they did, they would come. For her with everything they had. But Jake Collins had not built a business empire by backing down from fights. If the Zilani wanted a war over one small human girl, he would give them one they would never forget. The research data Lucy carried could change humanity's future. But more than that, she was his daughter now. And nobody was going to take his daughter away from him. Jake woke up at 6 in the morning to the sound of his emergency phone ringing. His head of security was calling with bad news. Sir, we have a problem. The Zilani Corporation has frozen all our bank accounts. They're claiming we stole their property and demanding we hand over the girl. Jake sat up in bed and rubbed his eyes. What else? They've contacted our biggest clients. 3 companies have already canceled their contracts. The Martian government is threatening to do the same. How? Much money are we talking about? If we lose the Mars contract to about 50 billion credits. Jake looked down the hall toward Lucy's room. She was still sleeping peacefully, hugging a stuffed animal his assistant had bought for her. 50 billion credits was more money than most planets made in a year. But it was just money. Let them cancel, Jake said. We'll find other clients. Sir, with respect, the board is going to panic when they hear this. Then we'll deal with the board. 2 hours later, Jake sat in the Stellar Dynamics conference room, facing 12 very angry board members. Lucy sat next to him in a new blue dress, eating breakfast and drawing pictures while the adults argued. You've lost your mind, Jake, said Peter Gray, the company's chief financial officer. One little girl is not worth destroying our business. She's not just any little girl, Jake replied calmly. She's my daughter now. Since when? Asked Helen Ross, the head of operations. Yesterday, you were a bachelor who worked 16 hours a day. Today, you're a family man ready to go to war with the Zelani Corporation. Jake looked at Lucy, who was drawing a picture of spaceships. She looked up and smiled at him, then went back to her drawing. Sometimes things change fast, Jake said. Lucy needed a father, and I needed to remember what's really important in life. What's important is our shareholders, Peter snapped. We have a duty to protect their investments. We have a bigger duty to protect human children from alien slave traders. The room went quiet. Lucy looked up from her drawing and saw all the adults staring at her. She moved her chair closer to Jake. Is that really what this is about? Helen asked quietly. Slave traders? Jake nodded. The Zelani Corporation doesn't just do business. They buy and sell people, mostly children. Lucy's parents were killed because they discovered something that could make humans stronger. The Zelani want to steal that research and sell Lucy to the mining colonies. Several board members looked uncomfortable. Everyone knew about the mining colonies in the Outer Rim. People sent there were never seen again. Even if that's true, Peter said, we can't fight the entire Zelani Corporation. They have more ships and more money than we do. Maybe, Jake said, but they don't have something we have. What's that? Jake stood up and walked to the window. The city below was full of humans going about their daily lives. Workers, families, children playing in parks. They don't have people who care about each other more than they care about money. He turned back to the board. I'm calling a press conference in 1 hour. I'm going to tell the galaxy that Stellar Dynamics is officially adopting Lucy Collins, and I'm going to tell them why. Jake, please think about this, Helen said. Once you make this public, there's no going back. I've already decided. The question is whether you're with me or against me. The board members looked at each other nervously. Finally, Helen spoke for all of them. We're with you, Jake. We just hope you know what you're doing. 1 hour later, Jake stood in front of cameras from news stations across the galaxy. Lucy sat in a chair next to him, wearing her new blue dress and holding his hand. My name is Jake Collins, he began. I'm the CEO of Stellar Dynamics Corporation. Yesterday, I met a 7-year-old girl named Lucy who asked me to pretend to be her daddy for 1 day. Today, I'm proud to announce that I've officially adopted her. The reporters started asking questions immediately, but Jake held up his hand for quiet. Lucy's parents were human scientists who were murdered by aliens who wanted to steal their research. Lucy escaped and has been hiding alone for days. When I found her, she was being hunted by Zelani slave traders who wanted to sell her to mining companies. The room erupted in angry voices. The Zelani were not popular with humans, but most people tried to avoid making them angry. The Zelani Corporation has frozen our accounts and threatened our business partners. They claim Lucy belongs to them. I'm here to tell them and the entire galaxy that no human child belongs to alien slave traders, ever. Jake squeezed Lucy's hand. She looked up at him with complete trust. Stellar Dynamics is officially withdrawing from all business relationships with Zilani companies. We're also offering our protection to any human family threatened by alien corporations. This is not just about business anymore. This is about protecting our children. A reporter raised her hand. Mr. Collins, aren't you worried about the financial costs of this decision? Money can be replaced, Jake said. Children cannot. Lucy is my daughter now, and I will protect her with everything I have. Another reporter asked, what do you say to shareholders who might lose money because of your decision? Jake looked directly into the camera. I say that if we can't protect one little girl from alien slave traders, then we don't deserve to call ourselves human. The press conference ended with Jake carrying Lucy out of the room while reporters shouted questions. Behind them, within an hour, the story was playing on every human news station in the galaxy. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Jake's phone rang nonstop with calls from other CEOs offering support. Human military veterans volunteered to provide security for Stellar Dynamics facilities. Crowdfunding websites raised millions of credits and donations, but the most surprising call came from Commander Lisa Kane of the Human Defense Force. Mr. Collins, she said, I want you to know that the Defense Force stands behind your decision. If the Zilani want to threaten human children, they'll have to go through us first. That evening, Jake tucked Lucy in the bed and read her a story about brave space explorers. When he finished, she asked, Daddy, are you worried about the blue men? A little, Jake admitted. But I'm not worried about us. Do you know why? Why? Because we're not alone anymore. Today, millions of humans decided to help us. That's what humans do when someone threatens our family. Lucy smiled and closed her eyes. I love being human, she said sleepily. Jake kissed her forehead and turned off the light. Outside, the city sparkled with lights from 1 million human homes. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight he had a daughter to protect, and an entire species standing behind him. The war with the Zilani had officially begun. 3 days after the press conference, Jake's security chief burst into his office with urgent news. Sir, we have a problem. Zilani ships are surrounding the planet. They've hired Krex mercenaries to capture Lucy and eliminate you. Jake looked out his window at the sky. He could see dark shapes moving between the clouds. Lucy was in the next room, working on math problems with her new tutor. How many ships? Jake asked. 47. All armed. They're not trying to hide anymore. Jake picked up his phone and called Commander Kane at the Human Defense Force. Lisa, I need help. The Zilani are making their move. I know, Kane replied. We're tracking them. But Jake, they outnumber our patrol ships 3-1. I can hold them off for maybe 6 hours. That's enough time. Get Lucy and me to the New Hope. We're leaving the planet. Where will you go? I'll figure that out once we're in space. The New Hope was Jake's personal starship. It was built for business travel, not war, but it was fast and had good shields. Jake had named it after an old Earth ship that carried people to safety during dangerous times. As they rushed to the spaceport, Lucy held Jake's hand tightly. She had heard the adults talking in worried voices and knew something bad was happening. Are we going on a trip, Daddy? She asked. Yes, sweetheart. We're going to visit some other planets for a while. Are the blue men coming with us? Jake knelt down and looked into her eyes. No, Lucy, we're going to stay ahead of them. But I need you to be very brave, okay? Lucy nodded. I'm always brave. Mommy taught me how. They reached the New Hope just as Krex fighters started attacking the city. The alien ships were black and sharp like flying knives. They fired red beams that cut through buildings and vehicles. Jake's pilot, Tony Martinez, was already warming up the engines. Where to, boss? He asked as they lifted off. Anywhere but here, Jake replied. Just get us out of orbit. As the New Hope climbed toward space, Lucy pressed her face against a window and watched the battle below. Human Defense Force ships were fighting desperately against the Krex, but they were losing. "Why are they hurting our city?" Lucy asked. "Because they want to take you away from me," Jake said. "But that's never going to happen." The ship shook as Krex fighters chased him into space. Tony pushed the engines to maximum power, but the enemy ships were gaining. "Jake," Tony called from the pilot's seat, "we've got 12 fighters on our tail and more coming." This ship wasn't built for combat. Jake strapped Lucy into a safety seat and went to the communications console. He opened a channel to every human ship in the area. "This is Jake Collins aboard the New Hope. I have my daughter Lucy with me, and we're under attack by Zilani mercenaries. Any human ship that can help us, please respond." The response surprised everyone. Within minutes, dozens of voices came. Over the radio, cargo ships, passenger liners, even small private shuttles were changing course to help them. "New Hope, this is Captain Sarah Wells of the freighter Big Thunder. We're coming to get you out of there." "New Hope, this is the passenger ship Starlight Express. We've got 600 civilians aboard, but we're not leaving you to fight alone." "Collins, this is Captain Mike Foster on the mining ship Iron Mountain. My crew voted. We're with you all the way." Soon, the New Hope was surrounded by a fleet of civilian ships. None of them were warships, but together they made an impressive sight. The Krex fighters suddenly found themselves outnumbered by angry humans. "This is amazing," Tony said, watching his radar screen. "I count over 100 ships joining us." But Jake knew the Krex would not give up easily. They were some of the most dangerous fighters in the galaxy, and they had been paid a lot of money to capture Lucy. "Tony, plot a course for the Helix Nebula. If we're going to have a running fight, let's do it somewhere that gives us an advantage." "The Nebula?" "Jake, that place is full of space storms and radiation. It's dangerous." "Not as dangerous as staying here." The next 6 hours were the longest of Jake's life. The human fleet jumped from system to system, always staying one step ahead of the Krex hunters. But more enemy ships joined the chase at every stop. During the journey, Lucy spent time in Jake's cabin while he worked on her parents' research. Data. Her innocent questions often helped him understand things that his adult engineers had missed. "Daddy, why do the tiny doctors in Mommy's research only work with some people?" she asked, looking at the data on his computer screen. "What do you mean? See this part here? The tiny doctors get confused when they try to help aliens, but they really like humans." Jake studied the data more carefully. Lucy was right. The symbiotic organisms her parents had discovered seemed to work perfectly with human biology, but caused problems in alien test subjects. "Lucy, this is incredible. Your parents didn't just find a way to make humans healthier. They found something that only works for humans. Is that good?" "It's very good. It means humans could become much stronger and smarter, but aliens couldn't use the same technology against us." Lucy smiled. "Mommy always said humans were special." As they talked, more human ships kept joining their fleet. The news of their chase had spread across the galaxy, and humans everywhere were sending help. Farmers in old cargo ships, colonists in transport vessels, even some retired military officers in ancient warships docked by the time they reached the Helix Nebula. Jake's accidental fleet had grown to over 300 ships. The Krex were still chasing them, but now they were the ones who seemed outnumbered. "Jake," Tony called from the pilot's seat, "we're getting a message from the Krex commander. He wants to talk." Jake activated the communication system. The face of a reptilian alien with yellow eyes appeared on the screen. "Human Collins," the alien hissed, "you cannot run forever. Give us the child and her data, and we will let the others live." "Counter offer," Jake replied. "Leave us alone, and I won't tell this fleet of very angry humans what you do to the children you capture." The alien's eyes narrowed. "You think your cargo ships and passenger liners can fight trained warriors?" Jake looked around at the determined faces of his crew, then at Lucy, who was drawing pictures of spaceships fighting monsters. "I think you're about to find out what humans do when someone threatens our children." The Krex commander cut the communication. A few minutes later, Enemy fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the nebula. 47 warships against 300 civilian vessels. But Jake had learned something important during their escape. The research Lucy carried could change everything. If humans could perfect her parents' discovery, they would never have. To run from aliens again, the final battle was about to begin, and the future of humanity hung in the balance. The Helix Nebula was beautiful and deadly. Purple and blue gas clouds swirled around bright stars, creating a maze of light and shadow. Electric storms danced between the clouds, making it hard for ships to see each other clearly. Jake stood on the bridge of the New Hope, watching the Krex fleet approach. 47 black warships moved in perfect formation, their weapons already charging for battle. His own fleet of 300 civilian ships spread out behind him in a much Messier pattern. "Jake," Tony said nervously, "our people are brave. But most of them have never been in a real fight. These are cargo haulers and passenger ships, not warships." "I know," Jake replied. "But they're here anyway. That means something." Lucy sat in a special chair on the bridge, wearing a small helmet that would protect her if the ship got hit. She was still drawing pictures, but now she drew humans and aliens fighting among the stars. "Daddy," she said, looking up from her drawing, "why don't the bad ships just fly around the pretty clouds instead of through them?" Jake paused. He looked at Lucy's drawing, then at the tactical display showing both fleets. The Krex were flying straight toward them through the center of the nebula, where the space storms were strongest. "Lucy, you might have just saved us all," he said. Kissing the top of her head, Jake opened a communication channel to all the human ships. "This is Jake Collins. I know most of you have never fought a battle before, but you came here to protect one little girl, and that makes you the bravest people in the galaxy." Voices responded from hundreds of ships. Miners, farmers, teachers, shopkeepers, and families who had left their homes to join the fight. "We're with you, Jake," called Captain Wells from the Big Thunder. "Whatever it takes," added Captain Foster from the Iron Mountain. Jake smiled. "Here's the plan. Lucy just reminded me that we don't have to fight fair. We're going to use the nebula against them." He explained his strategy quickly. The human ships would split into small groups and hide in the gas clouds. When the Krex came through, they would attack from all sides at once. The space storms would make it hard for the aliens to coordinate their defense. "Remember," Jake told them, "we're not trying to destroy their whole fleet. We just need to protect Lucy and get away safely." The Krex commander's voice came over the radio. "Humans, you have one final chance. Surrender the child, and we will let most of you live." Jake picked up the microphone. Behind him, Lucy was coloring a picture of a small human ship defeating a big alien monster. "Krex commander," Jake said, "I have a counteroffer. Leave this system now, and we won't show the galaxy how 47 professional warriors got beaten by a bunch of farmers and shopkeepers." The alien's angry roar came through the speakers. "Attack! Destroy them all!" The battle began immediately. Krex fighters launched from their motherships and dove into the nebula like black arrows. But instead of finding the human fleet in one place, they found empty space. "Now!" Jake shouted. Human ships emerged from hiding spots throughout the nebula. The Big Thunder, loaded with mining explosives, rammed a Krex destroyer and detonated its cargo. The explosion lit up half the nebula and took out 3 enemy ships. The passenger liner, Starlight Express, used its powerful communication array to jam Krex signals, making it impossible for them to talk to each other. Families aboard the ship cheered as alien fighters flew in confused circles. Small private shuttles, too tiny for the Krex weapons to target easily, swarmed around the big alien ships like angry bees. They couldn't do much damage, but they were incredibly annoying. "This is crazy," Tony said, watching the battle unfold. "It's actually working." But Jake knew the fight was far from over. The Krex were professional soldiers, and they were adapting quickly to the human tactics. "Jake," came a voice over the radio, This is Dr. Lisa Park aboard the research vessel Discovery. We've been working on your daughter's parents' data during the flight. We think we've made a breakthrough. What kind? A breakthrough? The symbiotic organisms can be weaponized. We've created a biofield that disrupts Krek's energy weapons. If we can get close enough to their ships, we can make their guns stop working. Jake looked at Lucy, who was watching the battle with wide eyes. How close do you need to get? Very close. Someone would have to fly right up to their command ship. Jake made his decision instantly. Tony, plot a course for the Krek's flagship. We're going in. Jake, that's suicide. That ship has enough firepower to destroy a planet. Not if Dr. Park is right about the biofield. As the New Hope flew toward the massive Krek's command ship, Lucy tugged on Jake's sleeve. Daddy, look at my picture. She held up her drawing. It showed a small ship with a little girl inside, flying toward a big monster. Light was coming from the small ship, and the monster's weapons were breaking. That's us, isn't it? Jake asked. Lucy nodded. The little girl has special power from her mommy and daddy. She uses it to protect all the good people. Jake hugged her tightly. You're absolutely right, sweetheart. The New Hope dodged laser blasts and missile explosions as it approached the Krek's flagship. Other human ships provided cover, sacrificing themselves to keep Jake and Lucy safe. Biofield generator ready, Dr. Park announced over the radio. Activating in 3, 2, 1. A wave of invisible energy spread out from the Discovery. As it touched the Krek ships, something amazing happened. Their weapons stopped firing. Their shields flickered and died. The aliens' advanced technology simply stopped working. It's working, Tony shouted. Their weapons are offline. The human fleet immediately pressed their advantage. Ships that had been running and hiding suddenly became the hunters. The Kreks, without their superior firepower, found themselves facing 300 very angry humans with nothing left to lose. The battle turned into a rout. Krek ships that had seen invincible minutes before were now defenseless. Some tried to retreat, but human ships blocked their escape routes. The Krek's commander appeared on Jake's screen one last time. His yellow eyes were filled with shock and rage. This is impossible, he hissed. Your species is weak. Your ships are inferior. How did you defeat us? Jake looked at Lucy, who was smiling as she watched enemy ships surrender all around them. You made one mistake, Jake told the alien. You threatened our children. Humans might be weaker and smaller than other species, but we never give up when we're protecting our families. The Krek's fleet jumped to hyperspace, retreating from the nebula in complete defeat. As they disappeared, the human ships erupted in celebration. Cheers and singing came over every radio channel. Jake picked up Lucy and spun her around the bridge. We did it, sweetheart. We won. Lucy hugged him tight. I knew we would, Daddy. Humans always win when they work together. Looking out at the fleet of civilian ships that had just defeated professional warriors, Jake realized that Lucy was absolutely right. Humanity had found its strength, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. 6 months after the battle in the Helix Nebula, Jake stood in the beautiful gardens of Earth's capital city. Today was the most important day of his life, but not because of business or money. Today he was officially adopting Lucy Collins in a ceremony that would be watched by billions of humans across the galaxy. Lucy wore a white dress with small stars embroidered on it. She had grown taller and healthier over the past months, but she still held Jake's hand whenever they walked together. Her smile was brighter now, and she laughed often. Are you nervous, Daddy? She asked as they waited for the ceremony to begin. A little, Jake admitted, but the good kind of nervous. Like when you're about to open a really special present, Lucy giggled. You're silly. You already know what's in this present. You get me forever. Jake knelt down and straightened her dress. That's the best present anyone could ever ask for. The adoption ceremony was held in the Grand Assembly Hall, where representatives from dozens of human worlds had gathered. Commander Kane sat in the front row wearing her dress uniform. Captain Wells, Captain Foster, and many other heroes from the battle were there too. Dr. Park sat with a group of scientists who had been working on Lucy's parents' research. The symbiotic organisms had been successfully developed into medical treatments that were already helping sick people across human space. More importantly, the research had given humanity something they had never had before, a technology that worked better for humans than for any alien species. The judge, an elderly woman named Helen Martinez, called Jake and Lucy to the front of the hall. She had been chosen because she had spent her life protecting children and making sure they found good homes. Jake Collins, Judge Martinez said, do you promise to love, protect, and care for Lucy Chen Collins as your own daughter for as long as you both shall live? I do, Jake said, his voice strong and clear. Lucy Chen Collins, do you choose Jake Collins to be your father, to love and trust him as your family? Lucy looked up at Jake with shining eyes. Yes, Your Honor. He's already been my daddy for 6 months. This just makes it official. The crowd laughed warmly. Judge Martinez smiled and signed the adoption papers. By the authority given to me by the United Human Colonies, I declare that Jake Collins and Lucy Chen Collins are now legally father and daughter. The hall erupted in applause. People stood and cheered, some wiping away tears. Jake picked up Lucy and hugged her as cameras flashed around them, but the ceremony was only the beginning of the day's celebrations. After the official adoption, Lucy had asked if she could give a speech to everyone who had helped save her. Jake was nervous about letting her speak to such a large crowd, but Lucy insisted she had something important to say. A small podium was brought out, and Lucy climbed up to reach the microphone. The huge hall fell completely quiet as she began to speak. Hello, everyone, she said, her young voice carrying clearly through the speakers. My name is Lucy Collins, and I wanted to say thank you. She paused and looked around at all the faces, watching her. 6 months ago, I was a scared little girl hiding in a spaceport. Bad people wanted to hurt me and steal something my mommy and daddy left for me. I thought I was all alone in the whole galaxy. Jake watched from the side of the stage, his heart swelling with pride. But then I met my daddy, Jake. He could have walked away when I asked him to pretend to be my father. He was an important man, with important meetings, but he didn't walk away. He chose to help me. Lucy's voice grew stronger as she continued. And then something amazing happened. When the bad people tried to take me away, thousands of other humans decided to help us. Farmers and miners and teachers and families left their homes to protect one little girl they had never met. The crowd was completely silent, hanging on every word. The bad aliens thought humans were weak because we're smaller than them and don't live as long. They thought we would be easy to beat. But they didn't understand something very important about humans. Lucy paused dramatically, just like Jake had taught her. Humans don't measure strength by how big you are or how long you live. We measure by how much you care about other people. And when you threaten one human, especially a child, you threaten all of us. People in the audience began to nod and murmur agreement. The aliens had bigger ships and better weapons, but we had something they didn't have. We had each other. We had families that chose to be together, not just because we had to, but because we wanted to. Lucy looked directly at Jake and smiled. My daddy didn't adopt me because he needed a daughter. He adopted me because he saw that I needed a father, and he chose to love me. That's what makes humans special. We choose our families, and then we protect them no matter what. The hall was completely quiet except for the sound of people crying happy tears. So thank you to everyone who helped save me. Thank you to Captain Wells and Captain Foster and all the brave people who flew their ships into danger for me. Thank you to Dr. Park and the scientists who made my parents' research help sick people. And thank you to my daddy Jake for showing the whole galaxy what humans are really like. Lucy stepped back from the microphone, and the hall exploded in the loudest applause Jake had ever heard. People were standing, cheering, and crying at the same time. Several alien ambassadors who had been watching the ceremony looked stunned by the emotion in the room. That evening, Jake and Lucy sat on the balcony of their new home on Earth. It was smaller than his old apartment, but felt much warmer. Lucy had decorated her room with pictures of spaceships and drawings of their adventures together. "Daddy," Lucy said, as they watched the stars come out, "do you think the bad aliens will try to hurt humans again?" Jake thought carefully about his answer. "Maybe, but if they do, they'll find out that what happened in the nebula wasn't a lucky accident. That's just what humans do when someone threatens our family. All humans are family now. The good ones are. And there are a lot more good ones than bad ones." Lucy curled up next to him in her chair. "I'm glad I asked you to be my daddy." "I'm glad you did too, sweetheart. It's the best thing that ever happened to me." As they sat together watching the stars, Jake realized that Lucy had been right in her speech. The battle in the Helix Nebula hadn't just saved one little girl. It had shown humanity what they could accomplish when they worked together. Human colonies that had been separate and isolated were now cooperating like never before. The galaxy had learned to respect human determination and human compassion. Most importantly, millions of children across human space now knew that if they were ever in danger, other humans would come to help them. No human child would ever have to face the galaxy alone. Lucy fell asleep in her chair, and Jake carried her inside the bed. As he tucked her in, she mumbled sleepily, "Love you, Daddy." "Love you too, Lucy, forever and always." Jake turned off the light and stood in the doorway for a moment, watching his daughter sleep peacefully. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new adventures, but tonight they were home. They were family, and they were surrounded by an entire species that had chosen to protect them. It was everything he had ever wanted, and it had all started with one brave little girl asking a stranger to pretend to be her daddy for just one day.